Sorry. We had a little glitch. Hello, everybody. It's me again, Zikri Khalil, your host for this show. It matters. And today, again, a whole month of togetherness for brighter Malaysia. This is the whole reason why I'm not on holiday, because I'm making sure all of you are entertained and at the same time get all the information you require on how you can make Malaysia much brighter. Today is a very, very different guest. And I say guest with big plural because we have one guest that represents the organization that we're hosting today, which is from Yayasan Chow Kit, and another one who happens to be not just a trainer or consultant, but I like to think of her as a quite of a key opinion leader as well in the influencing world, where we've lots of followers as well. I think she'd be perfect to also ask, because she has been volunteering a lot with this particular nonprofit. So um, the whole point of this whole month is to kind of educate you guys who are watching wherever you are, whether it's from your comfortable home or from your smartphone, from the plane, and so forth. And I'd like to welcome all of you who are watching from emers.tv. If you are watching from emers.tv, help follow and subscribe to us on that media channel. We would really appreciate that. But most importantly, let's go to the main venue of the whole entire show today. I'd like to invite Ms. Ananti Rajasingham, who is the CEO of Yayasan Chow Kit Malaysia. Welcome, Ananti, to the show. How you doing?
Hi, Zikri. I'm doing good.
Nice, nice. We love the hair, we love the smile, we love everything about the CEO so far. So welcome to the show. And oh yeah, I forgot. Also on the show again, as I mentioned, a little preview about her. Is also Liana Jaffrey, a consultant trainer, KOL, volunteer, florist. I don't know, all kinds of things you can think about. I guess she has her own brand going on at the back. Welcome to the show, Liana. Uh,
Hi.
hello, hello, hello. Okay, Koki. So it's so nice to have the both of you. I think you're like our third guest of this show for the whole month, where we hosted Prithvi's Kitchen, we hosted Special Olympics Malaysia as part of the impact fund that we're raising, where we are bringing everybody on who could bring Malaysia together for a brighter Malaysia. And today we have Yayasan Chow Kit, the big name, been around for a while, um, has championed a lot of things in the past decade or so. And it's a pleasure to have you here, Ananti. And I think the first thing I'd like to ask is, tell us more about the foundation of Yayasan Chow Kit, how it started, just in layman terms, and so that the audience will like to see your perspective as a CEO in that matter.
Awesome. Okay, so actually, we founded the organization. It was not me who founded it. It was our founder, Dr. Hartini Zainuddin, who came from New York to do some volunteer work about 17 years ago. And she found that there were many children on the streets, not because they were homeless. They had families. They lived in small homes, but they did not have any resources or safe places in Chowkit for them to go to. So if the kids are on the streets, they are very at high risk and very, very vulnerable, because Chowkit is known as a, uh, wouldn't say notorious. It's not a very notorious area anymore, but it used to be a very notorious area. So something like the
Okay.
Bronx in the US. And
Okay.
children, she found that there were so many children on the streets because they didn't have a place to go to after school, and they used to go and hang out in cyber cafes, join gangs, or just lepak lah on the streets. So she
Okay.
felt that they were not safe. They were very high vulnerable group, and
Mhm.
that's how she started off the first Pioneer Center, which is Pusat Activity Kanak-Kanak,
Yeah.
in partnership with UNICEF and JKM, our social welfare.
Okay.
So eventually, from a small group of 20 children, we started growing. We started getting children who were as young as babies to as
Oh
old
wow.
as 18 years old. And it was really hard to manage at that time. I joined the organization two years after it was founded,
Okay.
and different ages. We had to launch another project called KL Crushpad that focuses only for children who are teenagers, so between the ages of 13 to 17.
I
And
see.
eventually we had cases. Sorry, I'll just finish off like what are the three centers. So eventually we realized we were getting a lot of cases of children who are abused, traffic victims, and we launched another project which is not in Chowkit, it's off Chowkit because of the safety issues, where we shelter. It's a safe home where we shelter children who need that extra care. Temporary is a transition center, and we'll
Hmm.
find long solutions for the children so that they are not stuck in an institution.
Okay. What would you say is a trademark of Yayasan Chow Kit, currently with
I think,
on?
yeah, our
Yeah.
trademark is of course child protection and also child rights, promoting child rights.
Okay.
And our strength is social work, so providing social services for children.
Okay. I think a lot of people wouldn't see Yayasan Chow Kit as a protector of children just from looking at the name, right? So
Mhm.
because we only hear stories from the newspaper, of course, led by Dato Artini, of course. But
Yes.
so does that mean Yayasan Chow Kit Malaysia also foster and help non Malaysian citizens as well? And what
We look
demography are they
at,
from?
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So actually, we started off for Malaysian children because Chowkit had mostly Malaysian children. And eventually, we found that there are children who are refugees, undocumented stateless, who also needed care and support. And there are not many services out there for children who are non-Malaysians. So for us, like I mentioned just now, we are based on child protection, and every child matters to us, regardless of their age, ethnicity, nationality, and we'll try to support them as much as we can.
Okay. One second, Liana, you can hear us now?
Yes, I can. I'm so
Okay.
sorry.
Yeah, sorry, because you were about to cause seizure to our viewers because you keep coming in and out. So,
Yeah, sorry.
yeah, but it's okay. No worries. I'm glad that that's all fixed. But yeah, since now you're back with sound, Liana, I want to ask, when you volunteered for YCK, what were you doing? What were the activities that were you doing?
The first time that I went to YCK, actually, I went to see the kids because I was participating one of the campaign that Immerse and also Incitement did for, I think it's for Raya or Puasa during that time, that period of time, early this year. So I just went there to see the kids and to see the both of the places for secondary and primary school as
Yeah,
well. So
yeah.
I went to do things with that. I did the henna thing with the kids there. Yeah, they were
Oh,
activities there.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Okay, okay. Do you
yeah.
remember what were they all Malaysians or?
They were not. They were like from I think few other countries as well. Some of them are Malaysians, but some of them are from I think Indonesia. I think where else? Few more countries. Yeah.
Okay. So I want to ask back to Ananti on the demographic again, because
Mhm.
do you welcome all kind of beneficiaries to look after, or do you have a process for this? Because I couldn't,
Mm.
I can't imagine how much of an influx of people that you would like to help. So how would that look like? How would you start processing that?
Yeah, so we have two different services. One is internal services and one is external services. The
Mm.
internal services, the capacity is quite limited due to the space. The children's center is quite limited space. So we can take a maximum of 60 to 70 children on a given day. Whereas the
Oh,
teenage center can can take a capacity of 50 teenagers on a given day.
okay.
So of course we have an intake process where the families have to like bring the child. Parent has to bring the child, and they register with us, and then the social workers will then assess the registration form to see what are the
Okay.
needs. Whether is it the child needs a safe space after school, or is it that they just need support like documentation support, or if they have a medical issue, then the social worker will just treat it as an external case.
I see.
If
I
that makes
see.
sense.
Now,
Yeah.
you just
Yeah.
mentioned children and teenagers. What are the issues they both face? Are they the same, or they're both different kind of problems?
Both are actually quite similar problems. Is just that the teenagers are a bit more higher. Yeah, I would say I can't differentiate the high risk because younger children are very vulnerable. They can't make their own decisions. So, and also they are easily influenced. Whereas the teenagers, they can make decisions. They already have a world view on how things work. But still, that's the age where you mix with the wrong or the bad group
Right.
of friends, and then you get influenced, and then you have like case lari running away from homes, or
Yeah.
joining like gangs or going into drugs. So I would say the challenges for both the groups are very different. Younger children, we find that they are more vulnerable to like abuse because they
Mm.
can't speak up, and usually abuse happens with like grooming first, right? So the abuser will usually groom the child,
Wow.
and the abusers are usually mostly family, their own family members, not outsiders or people who are strangers to them. So the grooming process is a long process, and it's very hard to identify that the child is being abused. So that is the challenging part for the younger children. So we have to create a lot of awareness, like teaching the children what are the what is like their safe zones, who they should trust, who they shouldn't be trusting. And if we find any red flags, then we will bring in a counselor to actually support the child.
Can you define grooming so that the audience understand what you mean?
So grooming means like there are different approaches, but usually grooming means the perpetrator will make the child feel very comfortable, and
Mhm.
also they will use threat in a very not to say more like a milder way, so they won't say like, I'll kill your mother if you don't tell her anything, but they'll say like,
Yeah.
if you don't do this, then
Yeah.
this is what's going to happen. So,
Okay.
but it happens over time. So the child really doesn't know that they are being groomed or what's going on, but they
Mm.
will want to protect their family member that they love. So, for example, in a case where the father is the abusive party, and
Mhm.
he's sexually abusing his child, so over like a few years, they will continue this grooming thing where they will make the child feel loved and comfortable and everything, but at the same time they be abusing the child. So it makes
Okay.
the child very confused whether does the person love them or whether what they're doing is very hurting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they won't know how to make the
But
judgment.
they'll be sending mixed signal to the kids as well. Like, is this the kind of love that the world is happening? Like, is this the because they don't know how to differentiate between the what's going on outside their houses.
Yeah.
So
I
Yes,
agree.
correct.
probably mind blowing for them to know actually that is not right.
No,
Yes,
absolutely
and
not.
also the love they have, because the family bond, right? You cannot break that. So we've had
Mm.
cases also where children, we found out that they were abused, and then we bring them, we go make a police report, and it becomes like a JKM case. We have to take them to court. We prepare the child because it's very overwhelming, but
Of
they
course.
feel really guilty because that is their family, like that is a parent, and they are, like, and then they feel guilty, like, oh, now the father's in trouble, and then the mother has to sustain herself. So they start thinking like an adult, and it's a very scary position for children to be in that situation.
Liana, are you familiar with anyone that you may know or who may have helped you for some similar problem like this? Because you have a platform, right? And people come to you, speak to you. So I'm just curious, maybe because you might know maybe someone seeking help directly coming to you with such issues. Has that ever occurred to you?
Actually, like I used to live in Chow Kit as well before this.
Oh,
That's why I personally chose Chow Kit, Yayasan Chow Kit in the first place. And I was raised up as a broken family as well. So
okay.
yeah, it's very personal for me, and I think it's kind of mixed feelings between torn apart between my father and my mother. The love is there, but like I know what my dad did was very wrong towards the family, but still he is my dad at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like
Mm.
very hard for me to but it affected my little brother, my second brother, so much because he was still young. He doesn't understand anything, so he doesn't really talk to my dad until I think few years back only, because the I think he feels that he's been neglected. He's
Yeah.
been like, yeah, he's been neglected by his father, especially because that is his role model, right? It's the father, and he's a boy as well. So I think that is coming from my own experience. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, thank you so much for sharing. And that's, of course, it must be a very vulnerable time of your life. But I can see now why you have this tremendous connection of wanting to help with Yayasan Chow Kit. And having said that, uh, when you volunteered for Ananti, sorry, for not Ananti, for YCK, when you volunteered for YCK, did you had a chance to? Are you allowed to talk to the kids and get them to kind of
Yeah.
speak
Yeah.
about their experience, maybe? Or
We did not go there because I don't want to touch on anything that's personal. But I just went there to have fun with them. Like when you say that they come from a problematic family, and they're like having all these issues with their parents at home, but they do not look like they have problems at all. Honestly,
Mm.
they look so happy. They look so loved. They look so just cheerful. So it's like mind blowing for me to like even I even bring my daughter there, like to for her to experience, like, this is the real world. Whatever that you're saying,
yeah,
uh it's the thing that's happening in the world. And I even brought her to the house that I lived before in Chow Kit. She was like, "What is this place?" She said that. I was like, "That was my home. That was the place that I stayed before." So yeah, it's beautiful to see these kids. They don't really portray their problems. They don't really show that they have issues at home, but they just give you love. That's the most beautiful thing about these kids.
oh, that's wonderful. Wonderful
Yeah.
to know that there. I mean, there are people who are looking out for these kind of cases. I
Yeah.
mean, I only can hear stories, from orphan houses to even madrasas. But I can only pinpoint that YCK is there to do a lot of this. But I would imagine the volume is quite big, Ananti, if for these kind of cases, because I've seen some of the stats.
The yeah,
The
the
Yeah,
volume is it?
yes,
Yeah, yeah. So for us, like because we are in Chowkit, so we cannot really like extend our services like way beyond our area. But we do have cases that are referred. Like for example, about 2 months ago, the police called us and said, there's a baby, 11-month-old baby,
yeah,
that was passed to the police station, and they
yeah,
didn't know what to do. The police people didn't know what to do, and the child was a foreign child, a
yeah.
Rohingya.
Okay.
So, and the mother was detained. So when police called JKM, they said like you should put the child with the mother in detention, and the police officer just felt that was not right a rightful decision to make. So they called us up, and then we actually went to the station and took the child. So sometimes we have cases where we go out of our Chowkit boundary because there are a lot of needs out there. It's just that
Mm,
because of our own human capacity, our resources that is limited, we can only
yeah,
do what we can do and reach out to a certain extent. Yeah, but
of
usually
course.
we handle cases that not many other NGOs can handle. Like either they don't have capacity, or they don't have a space. So then we will take them in.
Okay, okay, okay. Um, so having said that, um, how can people support other than donating? Because I know we're as a inside my platform, we're always encouraging people to donate directly to these nonprofits that we are hosting, and of course, for this entire month, we're dedicating on how to make a brighter Malaysia. But to make it
Mhm.
brighter, it requires more than just funding. So, is there a lack of awareness on this, or like what would you need as YCK to? I mean, I'm just addressing this issue of this grooming because there's a lot of it is unreported. Obviously, I'm sure there's
Mhm.
much more unreported cases than reported cases. But what would you need?
Um, I think there needs to be support in prevention work.
Mm.
But there are organizations that do preventive work, but there's not enough because everybody NGO world we are always limited of like funding, resources, even expertise. So, for
Yeah,
example, right, like usually when people come to volunteer with us, like they want to be a teacher, they want to volunteer to teach, or they want to work together, with the children. But we
yeah.
also look for a lot of technical expertise, like if
Mhm.
they
Okay,
can help support, like create a video for us, or they can help us with, say, with our like IT work or data entry. So there are a lot of other things that we need
okay,
support for the overall works of the organization.
okay.
Yeah.
So volunteering, is there a volunteering core team or it's always ad hoc?
We have a volunteer core team. So, like what Liana mentioned this now, that she came and then they were doing the henna, right? So, for
Yeah,
example, that we have the ongoing volunteers. So, the henna teacher is one of our volunteers,
I see.
who comes on a daily, like a weekly basis, on like every Tuesdays, and she teaches the children how to do henna. So, the idea behind it is actually so that the child learn a skill, and hopefully in the future they actually can use the skill to also earn an income, because henna is quite famous during any festive weddings. People can earn quite a fair share, doing henna.
Yeah,
So that's the whole idea. So we try to encourage our volunteers to be at least 3 months active with us, and
yeah.
try to do something which is consistent, because children like consistency. If the volunteers just come for a 1 day event and then they leave, the children feel like as if they're not good enough for the volunteer.
Oh, see.
So yeah, so we had volunteers who come in and they make a lot of promises to children, like, oh, I'll come back and see you again, and then suddenly the
Uh-oh.
next month, like, they don't. So we just tell them, don't make any promises. You
Yeah,
come, you
nah.
do that for that 1 day, you have your event, and then you send, because they feel like, oh, maybe because the children already have the stigma that they are from Chowkit and that they are not accepted by society from other, like other areas. So even when they go for programs, say they go to KLCC for a program, if they are
Yeah.
children from other, so like communities, they feel like very low confident, and they feel like as if they are not good enough uh for those other communities. So we always encourage, like, when volunteers, when they come, to just make sure that they don't make promises, one, or if they make their promise, just skip to their promise. Yeah, because it really affects the children quite
Yeah.
badly.
Oh, most
No, the
definitely.
reason why I was laughing because it really does make an effect to them as well. Because I went there like 3 times already, so they were surprised that I keep on coming. That's why I laugh,
Mhm.
because yeah, it really gave them that impact. So I went
And they
there for,
remember, right?
yeah, they remember. That's why they're like,
Yes.
ah, you again. I was like, I'm so happy to see their faces that lights up whenever they see us coming.
But
Yeah.
that's the power of just showing up, Like
Yeah, you don't
Yeah.
even have to do much. Just show up and
no,
like,
just show up.
uh, I went there the first time to do the henna thing with them, and then the second time I went to have iftar with them,
Mm.
just buka
Okay.
puasa, and
Mm.
then I did my company workshop, hair workshop with them the last time. So yeah, it was so amazing, just spending time with them.
Yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
there's a lot of these daddy issues among the son, and they have a ball game, and the father doesn't show up. All he has to just show up, and then
True.
it's just enough, Just or like like your friend is gonna perform, and not many gonna come and
Actually,
receive.
the most expensive thing to buy is time.
I know, I
Yes.
know. It is. It gets harder when you get wiser, So,
True.
so okay. Uh, all right. So we're done with half of the session already, and I was hoping that the second session would be more about your personas. Like Ananti, who are you? Like your CEO. Like
Mhm.
why were you always been with YCK, or were you from somewhere else before this, or that's what we want to know, and what makes you tick
Yep.
with YCK?
Awesome. Okay, so actually, when I was growing up, I want to be a nurse. That was my
Okay,
ambition. Yeah, and being from a Malaysian parent, they
okay,
would want you to be a doctor and not a nurse. So there's always like this, how to say, uh, not to say they look down on nursing, but it's just that they feel that I had the capacity to be a doctor instead, to do medical, and I wasn't
Okay.
interested. I had the calling to serve people from a very young age. So
Uh-huh.
then I pursued my degree in psychology instead, because I felt like still that is somewhere towards my pathway, although I didn't know the full term of psychology at that point, but I knew it was about studying about the mind and all that. So, and then I completed my master's in Australia, and I was working for a program for children with disabilities in Australia. And at one point, I realized that in Australia, there's a lot of mental health, because my background is actually rehab counselor. And in Australia, there's a lot of mental health professionals who are, and there's a lot of work. The government supports a lot of mental health practitioners in the country. So I wanted to
Yeah.
actually come back and serve Malaysia because I knew that we were still very backward. And that's when I came back in 2009 and I
Mm.
joined this organization as a social worker, completely different from what I studied.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but ever since I stuck to it because it's so I would say that, working in the NGO, of course, the salary and all is not as competitive as corporates, right? But
Of course.
because most of us have the calling to serve,
Yeah.
it matches on very fast. And as a social worker, I've served many, many, many children. Until today, I still keep in touch with them. Some of
Okay.
them have gone abroad, some of them have become professionals themselves. They are all 30 plus now. And yeah, that's being a long term in the organization actually lets you see the children's growth. If I was to leave for a better position somewhere else, or, like I had many offers like with other organizations, but I
Yeah.
felt that I will then lose this essence that I was looking for. So
Okay.
yeah, I really until today I'm like 15 years with the organization. Every day I'm excited to go to. Every day there's something new, like not to say sometimes it's just bad days lah, because we have like really terrible cases, and sometimes
Yeah.
there are, like today I had a call to take in a 16-year-old a girl who was abused sexually, but we didn't have the capacity in our safe home. So then we have to make calls and try to get, someone else to be able to take in the child, because the child couldn't go into foster system yet due to the risk and the vulnerability, right? So,
Mm.
but then these are the things that you don't give up. You try to look for other resources that will be able to support the child.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that is who I am, and that's I've been enjoying this work for a very, very long time.
Oh,
That's
15 years.
amazing.
Yeah, it's really amazing, you know. Uh, I mean, I think that's one of the superpowers I know from people who are in this. Hey, hello there.
I'm sorry, my son
Excellent
came in.
guest here. No, no,
The,
no. It's okay.
the,
Welcome,
the true
little one.
definition of doing what you love makes you happy.
Yes,
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Okay, he has Pampers on. That's cute. Uh,
he's 3 years old, so
oh, okay,
I knew
okay,
he
okay.
will just jump into the call.
No, it's fun. It's fun. We like surprises on the show. Uh,
Okay,
but
since you asked, you said about something sexual harassment and what
okay.
the report thingy, right? I just
Yeah.
want to ask, like, I think in Malaysia, especially, we are not aware that we can make a report or we can,
Mm,
say that this is wrong, and we are afraid of saying it out loud actually because
Mm,
we are not aware that this thing can be reported,
correct.
right?
mm,
Yeah.
And how do we make things that it's how do we give them awareness that this is okay? Because I think in our country as well, we are not deeply educated about mental health,
mm.
honestly. So how do we make it, like, to make them aware that they can actually do things, they can actually say things as well.
To top up that
Yeah.
question,
Yeah.
is this even are schools using as a platform to create awareness for this as well, Ananti, or
Yes. So actually, most of the awareness comes from the schools. They
Mm.
also work with NGOs. Like we also go and do safe touch programs in our public schools, and we like like draw out the child's body and teach them where there are safe zones for boys and for girls, and like
Okay.
who we do like a trust circle, so then they can identify on that day itself like who are the people they can trust, and if anything was to happen to them, who they should go to, because usually the person that they can trust only they will go and talk confidently, or they'll be willing to uh, you know, tell secrets lah, basically. So usually it's
Okay.
like the mother or one of the favorite teachers. So there are programs like this to create the awareness in schools itself. But of course, the support, I think Malaysia, when it comes to mental health support,
Which school?
the problem,
All the
sorry,
schools.
you can't hear.
All the schools?
All schools, all public
Yes,
schools,
public
all
schools,
public schools.
public
Public schools
schools, yes.
now? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Sabah
yeah.
Sarawak
But the
also.
problem is, and also teachers are mandated to make a report if they find out a child is being abused.
Okay. Okay.
So it's
Okay.
compulsory reporting. But the problem is when they pull back the report,
What?
Mm.
because there's not enough. Yeah, so there's not enough. Sometimes when you go to, I mean, I'm so sorry, but when you go to the police are not trained, or they don't have enough trained personnel to handle such cases, right? There are, some that
Mm,
actually fall in the gaps. So then
okay.
the child gets uncomfortable, and then they say no, they want to pull back the report. The mother also feels like this is something they don't want to pursue because they're too shy, or they are too worried about what people will talk about them, that they are not a good mother or not a good parent. So then they say no, they don't want to how to say, proceed with the reporting. So the problem here is not the awareness. The problem here is there's not enough support for the parent and child for towards the process of the case. So, like when we
Okay.
have a case, we will usually follow them to the police station. We will ensure that we hold their hands. We will also prepare the child of what is to come, so
Yeah.
that they don't back out. We prepare the parent and the child.
Okay.
But if you don't have that support, and if you're all alone, then it's going
Yeah.
to be a big problem. And that's why a lot of cases either go unreported, or they just don't want to proceed
Okay.
with the reporting. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I do have friends, like few friends that we shared about our childhood, right? And they actually got molested by their families, their babysitters, even. And it's like, I think back in the days we're not educated about this.
Yes.
So
Yeah, of
I'm
course.
so happy that schools are having this education right now, because I have a daughter as well, so I'm scared.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, of
And
course, of course.
parents also can take the responsibility to educate the children. There are a
Mhm.
lot of like online materials. There's this NGO called WCC, Women Center for Change, which is in Penang. They have a
Okay.
lot of resources. We use their modules to teach our children safe touch and all that. So sometimes just very simple things like talking, and I think using the proper words, like sometimes like to talk about, like teach a child about their penis, or they use
Mm,
other words like
Mm.
burung or something, and children they cannot really grasp what that is. So when they go to court to testify and they use the wrong words, it could mean so many things. So it makes the case harder
mm,
as well. So teaching children the correct anatomy, or the correct word for
yes.
the anatomy, is
Yeah.
very, very important.
Of course. I mean, they should know how to say the word, penis
Correct.
as a 12-year-old.
Yes.
It's fine. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with that because, because it's just the way of how you want to communicate on what, um, on how to convey, even as a kid. 'Cause the
Hmm.
thing with my case, because I went to high school in the US. So in high school, everyone already knew when they're 13 years old what parts, rape cases, this kind of stuff, and they were very direct. And I know that it's a bit of a difficulty here because of,
Yes.
I guess, cultural hindrances that doesn't really want their kids to learn about the body anatomy, which is quite a challenge. But the other part here that I wanted to also cover, on YCK side, maybe also Liana, you can feel free to jump in also, is the what is the proudest moment that YCK has done that has pretty much impacted the entire country Is it a policy that maybe you have fought for? Is it some of the initiatives that has become more mainstream and acceptable, and then opens your channels to work with ministries because they love because your framework just works? Is there any of those cases that you could share with us? Maybe touching on what we just discussed on grooming or anything that is related to that.
Okay, so we are not really our strand is not advocacy, it's more like I mentioned just now, social welfare service,
Yeah,
right? So I
yeah,
think we have created the name in child protection for the in Malaysia. So
yeah,
sometimes we even get calls like from hospitals, like I mentioned, there's some from the police. So anywhere there's any situation, even we get calls from public, like when they see a child on the streets, lying around. Actually, by right, we don't have the mandate to go and pick them up. So what we do is we work with the social welfare.
yeah,
If the place is quite accessible to us, then we can go there and wait with the child and until the social welfare comes in, because we don't have the authority. Of course, our government has the highest authority.
yeah.
So I would say like we've been advocating for children to be out of detention. That was
Mm,
one, because a lot of like children from Myanmar,
yeah,
even migrants and all that. Whenever there's a raid, the immigration will go and pick up everybody, including children, and put them
okay.
in unhealthy detention centers. Unhealthy meaning there's no lights, there's no proper sanitary.
Oh boy.
13-year-old boys live in adult cells, which is really overcrowded. I've been to one before, and it's terrible conditions. I've met even a child with eye cancer, and there's no intervention for the child. They just waiting to deport the child, and there are a lot of children who are stuck there for many years because there's no like citizenship. Like they don't know, they can't identify. So usually the
God.
child is stateless,
At the
and there's
center,
over 1,800. Yeah,
at the center, stuck there for years.
yes.
Oh my
So there's over
God.
1,800 children in detention, and we've been advocating with the government for the last 10 years to release the children so that we will care for them. And we work with another NGO called Suka Society to help us with the case management.
Oh my God, that's
And
horrible.
this year, yeah, the Ministry of Home Affairs actually created a separate detention for children only. So of course, it's not like the best scenario, but it's much better than
Then
having them in detention. But we are still trying to work with the ministry to create an exit plan for these
How?
children. They shouldn't be in institutions like this.
Yeah, I'm kind of speechless hearing that because I mean these are
that's
kids
messed
in.
up.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, 1,800 is a lot, a lot of kids. I was about to
Yes,
say, um, how easy of a target are they, including your beneficiaries and these children you talked about from human traffickers? Is that a common thing?
very, very common. Very,
Mm,
very. They are very highly vulnerable. Even if you go to any police station, you can see how many missing children there are, and some of them not found at all. If you Google, missing children in Malaysia, you will see how many cases children are not found. So that
oh,
is suspected trafficking out of the country. And then you have children who are brought into the country, that's trafficking and smuggling as well. So they are very highly vulnerable. In fact, our founder, Dr. Hartini, she adopted two children. So another issue that we've been fighting for years is baby selling. So I'm sure you never heard of
what?
baby selling, right?
No.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
baby selling is quite a big phenomenon in Malaysia where like childless couples, they are looking to adopt a child. And then when
Okay.
you can just put on social media, like, if, does anyone know any homes that has children, that we can adopt? And then you will have agents who will reply saying that we have a child, and then they connect with you. Yeah, so there is this documentary called Babies for Sale that was done by Al Jazeera many, many years ago. And the phenomena still happens where hospitals, everyone is part of like the syndicate where they sell babies. So basically, they force mothers to leave their children in the hospital, and they will cover the cost because sometimes cesarean can cost about 7,000, right?
Yeah.
And the mother would have gone to a private hospital because she was already in labor. Sometimes people question, like, why would the mother want to go to a private hospital? But she's already in labor. You can't be like looking for a government hospital at that point.
Yeah.
And then they can't afford the fees and they leave their child there either to go and look for the money, or they're forced to leave the child there. And then when they come back, the child is already given out for adoption and they don't know to whom.
Oh.
They just say like, yeah. So there are so many cases like that. But the parents, the childless couples don't know that that's baby selling. That's why we have to educate them like, do not pay to get a child.
You're
If you're
nice.
paying 10,000, 20,000,
It's just
That
so
means you
weird.
are buying the child.
That's
And what
messed
is
up.
worse is like Dr. Tini, she adopted her daughter, her second child, who was almost sold to another country because she was darker skinned. She was a baby. She was darker skinned and couldn't find any buyers.
Ah, oh my god,
Yes.
The world, what
When
is
you're in this line, you
wrong?
see all these depressing things, and you just have to.
it's a
Yeah,
cruel world.
we don't even know that it exists here.
Yep.
Yeah, I've heard of it, but I didn't
But not in
know.
Malaysia. I don't know that it's happening here as well.
I mean, I've never heard from the
Malaysia
source.
is a hub. Yeah. Malaysia is actually because it's a transitional country and it's a hub, right? In a very strategic location. So we are the second tier in trafficking in persons. Yeah, and baby selling actually falls under trafficking, but it's not really people really don't know that that is trafficking,
I
and
mean,
people are not aware when they buy a baby as well.
I remembered my late grandma telling me about syndicates back in the early 1990s. Where they would kidnap kids and they'll bring to Thailand and they'll cut their hands off and ask them to beg. And there's a famous story where a family went there on holiday, where a missing child and saw his kid begging in the street. Um,
Mm.
I mean that kind of trafficking. I know it is ongoing, but I didn't know the extent of this babysitting, and I probably look it up on my computer later on to read more on this.
This
And
one, yeah, YouTube
yeah,
babies for sale.
yeah, on YouTube, yeah, and
Babies first.
yeah, we kind of went dark over there, so I want to try to lift the room a bit. uh,
Sorry about that.
no, 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 it's okay. It's real talk. It matters. That's what it's called.
Yeah,
It matters.
it matters. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Hashtag it matters. Um, so for those who are curious to know more about this phenomenon in Malaysia, which is hopefully one day we can prevent it or cease this to exist, check it out on Al Jazeera. It's called baby selling. Yeah,
Babies for sale.
babies
Babies
for
first.
Babies
sale.
for sale.
Allah.
Yes.
Just the name of it is so cringy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So go ahead and do that. But I'm gonna go to another segment now, just to kind of educate the audiences who are watching.
Mm-hmm.
Because this whole month and this whole theme of Together for Brighter Malaysia is also in partnership with Lotus Malaysia. Are you both familiar with Lotus Malaysia?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So Lotus Malaysia being the number one grocery shopper, that's debatable between Village Grocer or Jaya Grocer, but if you are using, if you go on the app, on the Lotus Malaysia app, or you go to the Lotus Malaysia website. I'm just going to show just a quick video. The whole point of this month is to help audience who are watching, and of course through our network and subscribers, to help donate and contribute to this impact fund for Together for Brother Malaysia. And as you can see demonstrated in front of your screen, you can actually go and start your own fundraiser on behalf of the Impact Fund if you want. And that will be helping Great Heart Malaysia, Fuji, TV, Yayasan Chow Kit, and also Hospice. Um, and this is the one of the main reasons why we have all of these five nonprofits to come together, so that the amount that is being raised will be distributed equally to everybody. But I think the main content I wanted to share is that partnership with Lotus, which I think will show up anytime soon on the screen. So we partner with Lotus so that Lotus can actually showcase the nonprofits on their website and also on their app. So if you are a Lotus regular buyer of groceries, which has about 2 million users, from what I've told, you can now actually donate directly from the app while you shop. And Yayasan Chow Kit, Pertiwi, Hospice, PG, and Great Heart Malaysia are all featured on that app. So that means there's hundreds and thousands of people who have actually can see where they can actually donate, as you can see on the screen. So hopefully, inshallah, I hope where the customer base of Lotus would be able to contribute if they like. It's just a direct contribution to the impact fund here, and that's basically what I wanted to show. You could donate once or donate monthly, and those who are on partner program, if you are promoting them, you can, and you get your own cut and so forth. That's just a little promo that I have to show because we are partnered with Lotus.
Mhm.
But back to, sorry, Lotus. But back to the conversation. Lotus Malaysia is good stuff. So order stuff. It's much cheaper than Village Grocer. So NTMC.
Yes.
So going back to to YCK, I want to go back to Liana now, because now that we understand your background, why you keep coming back, why you are volunteering with YCK. Is there something that you like to see more from YCK that you like to tell Ananti perhaps in the future, for just from what you've seen, heard, observed, taken part of? Because she's CEO, anything would be helpful for her to kind of, do you need more influencers, or do you need, what would you say to Ananti, on how to I guess 2024 is around the corner, so might as well just tell her.
I think you guys are doing a very great job. Congrats to all of you guys who works there, who volunteers there. I think the kids are having like the best time of their lives there actually, because they have a lot of activities to do. They have friends to mingle with, to do activities with, and it's just that I can't wait to see the new building to be done, because
Woo!
yes, yes.
Yes.
Because honestly speaking, the facilities that you guys have now, I know
It's
that that is
very
the
random.
only thing that, yeah, the only thing that you have, but the kids deserve so much better. So I really hope that there's so many other people that can donate to give their kids, especially the kids, to learn, to experience, to live in a better, in a more decent facilities. Yeah, that is all that I hope for them.
I mean,
Actually,
since you mentioned donation, the donation button is right down there for those who are watching on Emers.tv. So please donate.
yes,
If you're watching from Facebook Live or on our YouTube channel, there's a link where you can click and donate. Donate monthly if you can, which is great for them. So they're sustaining even more. We're not going to talk about how much they need, but just donate for the sake of
yeah.
donating. And
Every donation counts. It
yes,
matters.
exactly. As
Yes.
low as 10 ringgit, as maximum as 1,000 ringgit. So feel free and donate and give some love to YCK. I mean, do you want to add anything on top of what Diana just mentioned, Ananti? Or
I completely agree, Juliana. Because our buildings are really old and we've been there for the last like 15 years, right? So we actually identified a new building and we are working, but of course, fundraising was very, very challenging due to the pandemic and, like the cost of renovation has gone up. So we just currently managed to raise the full amount and we'll be continuing the renovation works in January. So hopefully by May we'll be ready and we can move the children to a better place with
Mashallah,
better facilities. Yeah.
That's
mashallah, that's
amazing.
awesome. When are you gonna move in there? Next month?
We are targeting for May.
May.
Oh, okay,
May.
okay. Make sure
May.
you send me right,
Yes.
huh?
Yes, yes, definitely. We're going to call all our partners for the launch as well. So
Yes, like housewarming or office warming. I don't want to call it center warming.
Santa
Uh,
Wall.
yes, center one.
yeah,
That's
center
great
warming.
for the kids. They're gonna be so happy about it.
Yes, do
Yes.
bring the kids and so forth. But yeah, like I wanted to also just let you know, like time flies when we're having fun. So I wanted to see if do you have any advices you'd like to tell our viewers out there. Do you want them to volunteer? Do you want to do more for YCK? With this information that we have discussed today, what would you like to tell them,
Mhm.
Ananti? And then we'll go to Liana.
Okay. For me, I feel that everyone in Malaysia can play a part, regardless where people are.
Mm,
Volunteering does not necessarily mean you have to go to an organization to volunteer, but also knowing, being aware of the issues that happen, which you can read on the news, and also be more aware of your neighbors. Because,
okay.
a lot of times these things happen in your own neighborhood, whether it's a low income or high income neighborhood. Uh, but it's because everyone seems to be living in a very individualistic society nowadays, Then you go to
Correct.
work, you come back, you're just within your family and within your four walls. That is the danger part. And our
Okay.
society has to take more responsibility in being responsible for children, regardless where they are and
Most
whatever
definitely, I agree.
ethnicity, background. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that, Ananti. Okay, Liana, 1 minute.
Okay, 1 minute for me. For me, I just want to tell you guys that it's everything that you guys do, even a donation or just volunteering. It really matters to the kids, and just by helping them and making show up for them will make them so much happier. And just take your time to just see what the real world, how is it like, because it will bring you to
Hello, kitty.
no, it will bring you down, it will show you like how grateful you can be, and just how amazing we are blessed with actually.
Amen. I mean, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well said, Liana. Thank you for the both of you for being part of the show. I know we had to, wrap up, but nevertheless, I think what was discussed was well covered, and I really hope it gives tremendous insights to our audience. Again, for those who are on Imers.tv, please follow, subscribe us on Imers.tv. Please donate also if you can. Please follow Liana Jaffrey and also Ananti on Instagram. I placed their placards here
One
right
more
in front of
thing.
you. Yes.
Can I request for a session whereby we can give awareness to parents, especially regarding sexually abuse or something? Because to be honest, like parents are the hardest to educate regarding this
Mm,
issue.
Of course.
Because
mm,
we feel that is maybe shameful, or maybe it's like something that we don't want to talk about, we refuse to talk about. So maybe we can request for a session for that, to
Oh, we're
educate the
down for
parents.
that. I'm sure
Yeah,
Ananti's down for that too.
yeah, i
yes.
need
I,
i need that.
I think we
I
should.
think first we'll definitely can think of something. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to bring parents to your open house, your center warming center, your when you open your center.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Liana, for that suggestion. And again, this is all recorded so people can see, and people will definitely push it off. With that said, I'm gonna wrap up our session. Uh, Ananti, Liana, thank you guys for being part of the show.
Thank you so
If there's anything, I
Thank
will
you.
message you on our very small, intimate WhatsApp group. I already took a screenshot of us so that it could be a memoir. And I will see you next year, inshallah.
much. Inshallah.
Thank you, Zikri. Thanks, Liana. Hope to see you this
Thank
year,
you
Oh,
so
thank
inshallah.
you.
much.
You drop by.
Yes,
Thank you,
I'll come
everybody.
more.
I'll see you
Yeah.
again. Cheers. Bye.
Bye.